Yes, sir. Welcome to the Mission Podcast. I am your host, Brian Butler, and I'm honored to have with me today Coach John Kmack. Coach Kmack is the founder and director of the GymRat Challenge. It's a national AAU tournament, and I couldn't be happier to have this gentleman on with me. Coach, how are you? Welcome to the Mission.
Great, man. Now you forgot to mention that I had the pleasure of coaching young Brian Butler back in the day, where we were lucky to grab him in a Division III situation because he clearly was a scholarship player. Clearly.
Well, Coach, you know, I certainly appreciate those kind
Should
of
I jump right in and tell the story about how I had to steal your luggage because you got a little bit homesick and we thought you were going to leave for Texas? Or should I save that for later? I'll save it.
Yeah, let's save that. Let's save that one for later. Allegedly type of things.
No, that's not allegedly. No, I can call it witnesses.
These are things that happen.
Yeah, they did.
We can talk about that later, Coach. That's awesome. But I want to give the people, my viewers, an idea of the GymRat Challenge and exactly the size and scale of this AAU tournament. The GymRat Challenge is the single largest event of its kind in the Eastern United States. It's the third largest event in all of the North American continent. The event was established in 1998, and now you host over 520 teams, that's boys and girls, with over 6,000 players coming to play annually. It's my understanding that 22,000 visitors come to the capital area region for the tournament. And amazingly, that represents over 34 states, US states, and also some Canadian provinces, which is absolutely outstanding and huge. It's also, I did a little digging, Coach, and it seems like the economic impact that you're bringing to the capital area with the GymRat Challenge is tremendous. You can confirm this if you will, but it's my understanding that $19.6 million is brought to the capital area with the GymRat Challenge during its girls and boys sessions, which is tremendous. You're creating jobs, you know, the tax revenue that you're creating through the tournament is just absolutely outstanding.
Can I tell you what impresses me the most so far?
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Now, you know, I'm just very pleased. My heart is warmed right now. My heart is, it's filled up.
Yes.
Because now I'm realizing that all those study hall sessions back at Plattsburgh State, you finally have done your homework and taken your notes well. I mean, that is impressive what you just rattled off right there.
Well, you know, Coach, well, I certainly appreciate that.
You could go to your math class back in the day when you're 19 years old and take notes like this. Life would have been easy.
I know, right? Who knows where I'd be right now? Yes. But, you know, even with those super impressive stats, Coach, the thing that I think is the most impressive is that more players are recruited out of the GymRat Challenge than any other event nationally. I think that is super impressive.
It is, and it's important to us. You know, when we started this thing, you know, I'm just a GymRat kid from the very beginning, and I guess I always looked at it, you know, this entire venture through that lens of, you know, what can we do to help kids get to the next level. So we started out with the idea that we wanted to create a platform where kids could always see how they measured up. And I never thought it would turn into what it's turned into today. Wow. But adding that value of evaluating players in real time with a structured paradigm of how we evaluate has made it's a huge differentiator for us in the grassroots space, because nobody else does, you know, what we do and provides that kind of real-time feedback.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. And it's kind of a who's who of players and coaches that have attended the event. So just off the top of your mind, you don't even have to dig deep for this, because it's such a talent-rich tournament. If you could name just a few players off the top of your head that my viewers of Welcome to the Mission podcast might recognize, and coaches, please do.
Yeah, well, the list is long and it's distinguished. On the men's side, I would start with Steph Curry, right? Steph Curry was, you know, so we've had, you know, I like to say some of the greatest players on the planet have come through the GymRat Challenge. both men's on the men's and women's side. We've had, national high school players of the year. We've had national collegiate players of the year. We've had All-Americans. We've had NBA and WNBA draft choices, all-stars, MVPs, world champions, and gold medalists. So, Steph Curry, Emeka Okafor, Kemba Walker, Michael Beasley from back in the day, Tobias Harris, Isaiah Stewart, who's with the Pistons right now, as a National High School Player of the Year. We had, in the past few years, we had the consensus number 1 and 2 players in the class of 2021, Imani Bates and Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren was just drafted number 13 overall in last week's NBA draft, and he's going to be with the Pistons. Well, he'll pair up with our guy Isaiah Stewart, who was an all GymRat performer and spent a year at University of Washington before being drafted in the lottery. Derek Lively from Team Final out of Philly, and he's committed to Duke. He's the consensus number 1 player out of this class in 2022. 7'2" with all kinds of versatile skills. He's a lock lottery pick next year. People don't realize, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of kids that play high school basketball every year.
Right.
To be to be a college player at any level,
right,
you've got to be in about the top 3.5%. And when I say any level, that's everywhere from your local community college to a Power 5 school.
Yeah.
And these are kids that are in the top, in some cases, 1, 3, 5, 10, 20, 50 players in their graduating classes. Those are astronomical odds.
Yes, 100%. I actually had an opportunity to speak with some young youth hoopers this morning or this afternoon, and I talked to them about that. I asked, raise your hand if you have the goal of playing at the next level. Of course, they all did, and I said, it's a very small percentage. What are you going to do to separate yourself from the rest of the kids in this room? Because it's a very tiny percentage that actually do play at the collegiate level. So, but that's amazing, Coach. Hey, and also on the women's side, I know you had Breanna Stewart that played in the tournament. And
I'm sorry, I should have expanded more on that. You're right. Breanna Stewart was here. The MVP of our first girls event, right? We started off in 1998, it was just a boys event. Then I started to have children. My oldest daughter was born, and I said to myself, I think she's going to be athletic in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if it'll be with a basketball. Yeah. She turned out, she was an All-American, high school All-American lacrosse player, and was a Division I player at Siena College. She's 5'1" with cleats on, right? So that goes with the deal. But so I have 2 daughters, and I thought to myself, I can't tell them that I only do this for boys and we don't do it for the girls. So we started doing this thing for the girls as well. And our first MVP on the girls' side was a young lady named Epiphany Prince, who was out of Murray Bertram High School in New York City, who went on to be a WNBA scoring champ. But prior to that, in the high school season, her senior high school season, which was the year after she had been here at the GymRat Challenge. So she was here in the summer, the following winter. She scored 129 points in a single high school game.
My goodness.
To break Kobe Bryant's national single game high school scoring record.
Oof. Yeah. That's great company to be in right there.
Sure. No doubt about that. I think she had to keep the shoulder in ice for a day after that. She wasn't shy.
Putting those shots up.
Look at that smooth lefty release still. Look, that brings me back, man. Brings me back to Binghamton. Knocking out a jump shot to send them home. That whole arrogant crew. I couldn't wait to run over and shake their hand. I couldn't wait to do it.
Yes, sir. Game winner. I love your memories. That's for sure awesome. I did notice that I think in 2021 or last year, you all went with a tournament style format. Was that in addition to the regular tournament? And I know you had, like you mentioned, the number 1 and 2 player in the nation that played in that tournament style format. How'd that come about?
Great question. So 2019 was our most, I would call it our most prolific year ever, right? So we had the highest number of teams we've ever been able to take between the boys and girls event, the highest number of athletes we've ever had come through the door, highest number of college coaches attend. 2019, we're rolling. then boom, COVID hits, right? We're planning for a huge 2020 and COVID really hits February, March, and everybody's thinking, oh, this only lasts a couple of weeks. Remember, 15 days to stop the spread. Then reality set in that this thing was going to really impact our lives. So we had to essentially put everything on hold for 2020. And for those, of your viewers and listeners that understand grassroots basketball, the best teams and players play on sneaker sponsored circuits, by Nike. Those are circuits sponsored by Nike, Under Armor, and Adidas. And they kind of insulate their teams in those circuits, so they're playing against like talent all the time. So we got a phone call from some Nike teams and representatives who said, hey, Nike is shutting down their circuit, which they call the EYBL for 2020. But they know that their kids are going to want some place to play when this pandemic thing is over, like in August, right? So everybody thought. And people were worried about, hey, if we don't, give these kids a place to play, they might jump to other teams, right? It's a dog eat dog world that we're in with elite grassroots basketball. So essentially they said, hey, we know you would do a great job. You would put on a great event. If Nike sends you 8 of their top programs, would you navigate these COVID restrictions for us and run an event? And the in between the lines message on that was, hey, Nike is too big to get sued, trying to run something during COVID. But hey, Kmack, would you do that for us? And I said, damn right I will. And we actually launched the event the following spring. We called that GymRat Live. And we called it GymRat Live because college coaches were still not allowed. They were prohibited by the NCAA or their individual institutions from coming out and evaluating in person. So what we decided to do, we had these 8 top level programs coming each with their 17U, 16U, and 15U teams. And then we did a national broadcast for this thing. So college coaches could watch it from their offices or their homes and see these kids really. And we broke the mold. We did something that had never been done in the history of grassroots basketball with a full broadcast. When I say full broadcast, I'm not just talking about a kid with an iPad and you hope they move the iPad every once in a while. So they don't miss possession. This was like multiple cameras. It looked like an ESPN3 broadcast. Multiple cameras in every court, color, play-by-play, technical directors, graphics directors, replay camera. I wasn't sure if that event was going to be a one and done kind of thing just from COVID. And then this year, or as we got ready for this year, all of a sudden, all of those teams started to call and say, hey, you're doing that again, right? We want to come back. So and at that event in 2021, we had the number 1, 2, 3, and 5 players in the nation. In addition to a number of kids that are in the top 30 in their class. So I said, yeah, we'll do it again. Now, in 2022, all of the teams that were here in 2021 wanted to come back. And then we got some calls from some other teams in Nike's camp. We had a phone call from Team Durant, who had the number 2 player. We'd like to come. So we said, yeah, we'll make room. And obviously Team Durant sponsored by Kevin Durant. Team Melo sponsored by, Carmelo Anthony. Hey, can we come? Sure, we'll make room for you, right? And they had Carmelo's 15-year-old son on their team. And then we got a phone call from Under Armour, who said, wait a minute, why are you freezing us out? Why is it only Nike teams? And I said, we're not freezing out. What do you want to do? And they said, we'll send you our flagship program, Team Curry, out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Then they said, we'll also send you the number 1 program in Canada, Canada Elite, which is a UA program. Then guess what happened after that? Adidas called. They said, how come we're not in? We'll find space. So they sent us Kyle Lowry sponsored team Kalo. Kyle Lowry of the won a world championship with the Raptors. Now is with the Miami Heat. His team, he's a Philly kid, so his team's out of Philly. Kalo Elite, and then Brookwood Elite out of Montreal came as well. So in 2022, we had not only representation of some of the best players in the area, but now we did something that again had never been done before. We had these sneaker circuit teams crossing brands to play against each other. And
history.
we continue to do the live broadcast.
That's just tremendous. And, the growth and you guys adapting the way that you needed to adapt with COVID, and I put that, probably square. I don't want to say squarely on you, but I know your genius and I know your hard work and your work ethic. So,
that was survival skills, man. That was survival skills. Look, we went through a 2020 with no revenue.
Hey, Coach, that actually circles around to something that I wanted to ask you about. Having seen, elite talent. I mean, you've seen it from all sides of the spectrum there. And I work with kids on the weekend on their game, trying to refine their game and helping them, with their game. And, I always talk about hard work, dedication, and so on and so forth. But what are some of the traits that you see that's kind of woven into the fabric of all of these, mid to top tier players?
That's a great question. And it's not just the mid to top tier players. I mean, everybody has a limiting factor. But I think for kids that want to succeed at any level, whether that's, being an All-American at a Power 5 school and being an NBA lottery pick, or being the best high school player that you can be.
Yes.
One of the important functions is you have to enjoy the process. So, those kinds of intangible things that we always talk about, determination, work ethic, those are real things,
Yes.
and they're real things that are valuable, in life. I said before, my heart is filled up seeing the success that guys like you have now, and having been fortunate enough to coach you back in the day, because, you want to weave in those success quotients, in other parts of your life, because, sports parallels life in a lot of ways. Like, you've got to deal with adversity. You've got to deal with good days and bad days. You've got to put in the work. You've got to be a good teammate.
From the coach's perspective, because I know you have a lot of, Division I coaches that show up and 2, 3 and JUCO and everything else. What are some of the things that they are looking for from players?
I think college coaches, let's not lie, or they're looking for talented people. First of all, they're looking for size and talent, and they're looking for, if they can get all those other intangibles, the work ethic, the commitment, the leadership, those things are great, and those things don't really change. What has changed dramatically since COVID is the transfer portal. And for those that don't know what that is, now, with COVID, anybody that was in college from the start of the pandemic received an extra year of eligibility, essentially a COVID eligibility year. But the problematic feature to the high school athlete, the kinds of kids that you're talking about working with, the kinds of kids that we see come through the GymRat events, is that now there is a backlog of eligible college players in the transfer portal, but there are no additional scholarships to offer. So now the primary recruiting market for college coaches is the transfer portal, because then you're getting a proven college product, right? If after I left Plattsburgh and started a career in the business world, I remember going back and watching you play at the University of Vermont. Remember, Plattsburgh played Division III Plattsburgh, went across Lake Champlain and played Division I University of Vermont, which was great of the University of Vermont to do, because that's a no-win situation for them. If they win by 30, then everybody says that's what you're supposed to do. You're a Division I team. If they lose, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. I went and watched that game, and I'll tell you right now, the best player on the floor was Bryant Butler. The best player on the floor for either team was Bryant Butler. So in today's landscape, Bryant Butler may then, let's say he gets done with his final year at Plattsburgh, he's at one more year, he graduates, got one more year of eligibility, you might open up your recruiting, right? And you go to the portal, and somebody like UVM who saw you drop 34 on them might say, hey, why don't you come over and be a Catamount? Or somebody else in that conference may look and see the same thing, right? So because you're a proven entity. So if you're a college coach and you're making that decision, you're taking the known entity over the high school prospect. So now the problem has become high school kids have become a secondary recruiting market. And there's going to be this backlog of recruitable players for probably another 3 years. So not only are high school kids competing against other high school kids for limited number of scholarships and roster spots across the country, but they're competing against other current college players. So that recruiting process has gotten even more difficult. So you have kids that, if it was 2019, 2018, kids that would have, 4, 5, 6 scholarship offers. Right now, we're just hoping for one.
Oh.
And they might take, that might, if it's the only situation they get, it might not be the right situation, and they might take that, and then they end up in the transfer portal, and then that thing, kind of feeds itself. So, there are a lot of kids that, would have been scholarship players pre-COVID or Division I players that are now dropping Division II, or Division II kids that are dropping to Division III. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. It's just the reality of the situation we're in, because there's a backlog of eligible, proven college talent.
And you think that's going to stay happening for about 3 years, 3 more years?
I think there'll be a backlog for them, because by then all of the kids who had that extra COVID year will have made their way through, right? And 2020 was their freshman year. So you figure, it's got about another 3 years to where everybody's used up that extra, essentially 5th year of eligibility. The transfer portal will still be there, but that extra year of eligibility is different. The transfer portal is always going to affect how many high school kids take. Like, I'm talking to college coaches who are saying, hey, I'm not recruiting high school kids. Like, I might recruit 1 or 2 high school kids, where in the past they were taking 4, 5, 6 high school kids a year. Now they're taking 1 or 2, and they're taking 3 or 4 kids out of the portal. The numbers are the numbers. Yeah.
And, it's unfortunate. My son, actually, who you helped, thank you very much, Jordan, got caught up in that, because, he graduated 2020, I believe. That was his year.
So he was right in the whirlwind of the whole thing.
Yeah, right there. So, and he was very talented, and I'm sure still is, but just got caught up in all of that. So that's really good information, because I work with, like I said, some youth. I've got about a 6'5", 6'6" kid that I work with. He's going to be a sophomore this year, and talented, has a nice jump shot. We're working on his total game, but he's got aspirations of playing at the next level. So this is really good information, even for his father, when they're watching to see it.
You have to play with the right, what you do. Your high school program is very important. I never am going to minimize that, right? I'm the son of a high school coach, right? College coach and high school coach. Never going to minimize that. But what you do with what I'll call your grassroots club program, right, is also critically important. You have to play with a club that's putting in the right kinds of events. If you're just wasting your time playing in low-level events where nobody cares what you do because nobody's watching, then you might as well just be shooting around in your driveway. You have to be in the right kinds of events that are giving you the right kinds of exposure and pushing you in the right direction. Listen, I'm confident that what we do with GymRat basketball, we do it as well as anybody in the country. But I'm also confident there are other very good event operators out there, but there are also some really bad ones. And if you spend your time at bad events, you're going to get bad results. And these players have to be very careful about that, especially in this, this near-term post-COVID era, where there are limited opportunities for high school players. Let's say, in this Division I schools can only offer 13 scholarships, right? So let's say on average, there's about 350 of them, right? So let's say every school let's say they had 4 scholarships to offer. So that's what, that's 1,400 scholarships available at the Division I level across the country. 1,400, right? Now, if you figure at least half of those are being taken up by the portal,
right?
Now that those opportunities for high school
even
kids
smaller.
That's right.
It sounds like you truly do feel that AAU circuit is highly important, and playing in the correct or the right AAU tournaments is even more important.
It's what I do, So if I didn't believe in that, then I'd be a professional hypocrite. Playing in a grassroots program, a club program, where you're going to get, good coaching, good instruction, development opportunities, and you're going to play in quality events is critically important. Because if you're, like I said, it's like, it's like going to the gym and practicing bad habits every day. If you're going to the gym and you're practicing bad habits, you're being counterproductive.
Right.
It's not practice that makes perfect. It's perfect practice that makes perfect.
Right.
So you have to practice the right way.
Yes.
And it's the same thing goes for your club team. You have to be, playing on a team that's moving you in the right direction. Otherwise you're wasting your time.
When you're looking at a youth player and talking to them, and they're telling you, I want to play at the next level. What if you got an elevator speech, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, what do you tell them?
I'd say be aware of who you are and what your skill set is. Be committed to what you want to do and how you want to get there. And be willing to do the things that are going to help you get to where you want to be, even if those things are maybe outside of your skill set, on day one. None of these things, it's very rare that success happens in a straight line, right? Where we're on this path up to the upper right hand quadrant. Usually there are blips. You've got to be able to deal with adversity. And life, and this is one of those cliches that's printed on posters all over the place, but life isn't about how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you get knocked down and can get back up again. And that's true in sports. That's true in life. Don't expect it to be easy, because it's not. And I guess I don't know if that's an elevator speech or 3 pillars or 30 seconds, but put away the sense of entitlement. I think that's too many people walking around with a sense of entitlement, believing that things are owed to them. They're just not. Put in the work. And if you put in the work, people will invest in you.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, Coach, do you have the dates for your 2023 tournament? I say that because we may have some of our viewers of Welcome to the Mission podcast. Some of these coaches, they may have a team locally, and they want to see what it's about. They want to try their competitive.
I said before, we've had a number of teams from Texas that have ventured this way.
Yes,
so
sir.
our boys GymRat Challenge event, and I should know this because we're about to publish our report. I'm gonna look up the date. It is the boys GymRat Challenge is Memorial Day weekend of 2023. That's when we always do it. So let me see if I can hold on, B Butler. I'm gonna try to get to that real fast. So I think that is May 27 and 28.
27. Okay.
And then the girls GymRat Challenge is the weekend prior to Father's Day. So that in 2023 is June 10 and 11. And then the boys GymRat live event, which is invitation only, and all sneaker circuit teams, will be May 13 and 14. And we're not set on a date for girls GymRat live yet, but so those are our 2023 dates, and more specific information will always be available and published to GymRatChallenge.com, GYMRAT challenge.com.
Sir, that's excellent. Hey, Coach, I value the time. I value the knowledge, the leadership, mentor of mine. This is definitely good information for players and parents and viewers in general on how to be successful, follow a dream, how to work hard, and get to where you're trying to get to. So I appreciate you, Coach.
B. Butler, I appreciate you, and I value the friendship. I couldn't be prouder of you. You filled my heart up today, seeing how well you're doing and what you're up to, and that's I couldn't be prouder of you.
Thank you, sir. I certainly appreciate you.
All right, man. Be good.
All right, Coach. Take care.
See ya.